auf den erweiterten zu gehen, weil ihr dann hier auswählen könnt. Ihr habt die Encoder-Auswahl. Wir gehen direkt mal auf Aufnehmen. Einerseits könnt ihr hier natürlich den Ordner einstellen, in dem ihr eure Aufnahmen speichern wollt. Dann könnt ihr hier das Aufnahmeformat wählen. Alles andere als MP4 ist meistens nicht ganz so toll. Flash geht auch noch, aber bietet sich nicht an. Dann könnt ihr die Anzahl der Audiospuren festlegen, die ihr habt, wenn ihr mit mehr als einem Mikrofon aufnehmt. Ist das ganz nützlich? Oder mehr nützlich? Encoder, aber weil der einfach, ich habe hier Nvidia Encoder, wird ausgewählt habt ihr hier unten die Möglichkeit weitere Einstellungen auf von 720p ein. Das Problem mit Full HD stellen zu nehmen. Full HD Sendung dauert Ewigkeiten. Dann sitzt ihr an einem Upload circa 2 Stunden, je nachdem. Die Anmerkung, verlustfreie Aufnahmen sind sehr, sehr zeitintensiv, wenn ihr sie hochladen wollt und sehr langsam ändert halt. Und ihr müsst es, ist eine der hier noch, um das Signal, das automatisch normalerweise Eingang des verfügbarer Sound angezeigt, hier beim der rechten Seite zu hören. Ein Video zur Szenensammlung zum Thema Streaming.
Ganz kurz bevor das Video losgeht, falls euch das Video gefallen und geholfen hat, dann würde ich mich natürlich über eine positive Bewertung freuen. Ihr helft mir damit wirklich enorm und es wäre auf jeden Fall mega korrekt, wenn ihr ein Like da lasst für meine Arbeit. Und dann würde ich sagen, wir fangen jetzt direkt mit dem Tutorial an. Jo Leute, herzlich willkommen hier zu einem neuen Video von mir auf meinem Kanal. In diesem Video möchte ich euch zeigen, wie ihr OBS Studio zum Stream einrichtet. Ein Video, wie man den CLR-Browser installiert in OBS Studio und in OBS Classic, habe ich bereits auch gemacht. Link dazu findet ihr oben rechts, solltet ihr euch angucken, falls ihr streamen wollt und danach Benachrichtigungen bekommt. Das ist nämlich der. Jetzt zu den Einstellungen. Ihr geht hier als erstes erklärt, wie man dieses Plugin installiert. Allerdings würde ich euch diese Variante nicht empfehlen. Also wie gesagt, das findet ihr oben rechts und jetzt geht es auch schon direkt los. Als erstes startet ihr OBS Studio und geht dann einmal auf Profil, erstellt ein neues Profil bzw. benennt es um in Twitch Stream und geht auf die Szenensammlung, erstellt da auch ein neues Profil bzw. benennt es um. Jetzt zu den Einstellungen. Ihr geht hier als erstes auf den Studio-Modus, der ist gleich auch noch ganz wichtig, zeige ich euch gleich noch was zu. Und ihr geht dann in die Einstellungen und ich gehe das Ganze jetzt mal ein bisschen schnell durch.
Disgaea.
Oh yeah.
Like,
Also, fun fact, I think that the enemy rabbits that they're showing in this trailer are supposed to be modeled after some of the Koopalings.
oh, that can make sense. Like, they're their minions or whatever. Like,
And of course, Yoshi's looking nice in the trailer too, though. I'm glad the fact that they actually kept Yoshi in there as well.
you're playing Brawl right now, Subspace.
Good stuff.
Yeah, Disgaea.
The fact that they actually kept Yoshi in there as well.
You're playing Brawl right now, Subspace.
Good stuff.
Yeah, Disgaea.
The fact that they actually kept Yoshi in there as well.
You're playing Brawl right now, Subspace.
Good stuff.
Yeah, Disgaea.
The fact that they actually kept Yoshi in there as well.
You're playing Brawl right now, Subspace.
sind hier tatsächlich andere Menschen. Leute, ich bin gerade in Frankfurt. Verrückt, aber wahr, ich bin nicht in irgendeiner Weise in meinem Gaming...
La noche no se mueve.
game is fun. The game is a battle. If it's not fun, why bother? If it's not a battle, where's the fun? It's a test that you pass or a quest that you fail. A race against time. Fun and battle always locked together. But the game is also something else. It's a journey, a passport to new worlds, maybe even an odyssey. A look, a feel, an exploration. Close your focus and open your mind. Yes, the journey requires the right ticket, and that ticket is Nintendo Switch. But in the end, it's not just where you can take your game. It's where your game can take you. So let's go.
Story goes that when the world was young, everyone in Allrest lived on the World Tree, together with our Divine Father, the Architect. They called that paradise Elysium. You're a blade.
As the driver of the Aegis, can you take me to Elysium?
I'm in. Let's go to Elysium. I'll take you there myself. Pyra!
Here!
Cover me!
Got it!
We'll show you. We'll show you what me and Pyra are made of. Take this! Now that you have come this far, there can be no turning back.
You and that sword can't be! I'm guessing your goal is Elysium.
This blade he calls Pyra. Her flames hide something deeper.
What's the matter? Are you the Aegis, or aren't you?
I won't use that power, and I won't let you use it either!
If you know what you desire, you will have to show it. Not with words, but with your own strength. Everyone, let's go!
Sometimes you need a hero. A sword swinging, fire wielding, stone cold hero with an insatiable appetite?
Hi everyone, I'm Shinya Takahashi from Nintendo. I hope you've been enjoying the journey with Nintendo Switch so far. When I found out that Nintendo Switch is being accepted by video game fans from all over the world as a home console that could be taken with you anywhere, I felt so relieved. Take Switch outside, come together, and share the experience. This idea was how we hoped people would play with Nintendo Switch. But people are coming up with many creative ways to play, in all kinds of places, in many more ways than we expected. This summer, Nintendo and its third-party partners will release many multiplayer games that can be played anytime, anywhere, and with anyone. We hope there will be many heated competitions that will be ignited by Nintendo Switch. Now, we'll continue our look at even more new game worlds for Nintendo Switch. But before we do, there is one announcement we'd like to share from our very special friend. Please take a look.
Hi everyone, I'm Tsunekazu Ishihara from the Pokemon Company. Just the other day, we announced that Pokken Tournament Deluxe is coming to Nintendo Switch. This is the latest version of the premier Pokemon fighting game. Two people can dive right into battle using two Joy-Con controllers, so you can experience heated Pokemon battles with just one Nintendo Switch console. There are some fresh additions, including new Pokemon, and this deluxe version of the game will be on display at E3 for attendees to play. I have one more announcement. Game Freak has begun developing a core RPG Pokemon title on Nintendo Switch. It may not release for more than a year, but we hope you'll look forward to it all the same. In the meantime, let's enjoy this year's E3.
Ishihara-san, thank you very much. We heard that the Pokemon series is being developed for Nintendo Switch. What kind of Pokemon game will we be able to play on Nintendo Switch? I'm looking forward to it myself. At this year's E3, we're mostly showing games that will be released in 2017. But please know that here at Nintendo, we're working on many forms of entertainment that can only be made possible on Nintendo Switch. We hope you'll look forward to them as well. Now let's continue on with the journey with Nintendo Switch.
brother's in danger!
If she's up there, then...
You two must keep going. No, I'm coming with you. I am Marth, the Prince of Altea. We've come here to save you.
Remember that you can rely on your friends. We're with you.
Get it together, you two. If you can't do this, who can?
You fought your way this far. There's nothing you two can't do.
No matter the danger, we can overcome it if we're working together.
All right, let's move out.
Working together, we can finish this.
Hi there, I'm the Legend of Zelda series producer, Eiji Aonuma. You may have already heard about it during Bethesda's showcase that was held a few days ago. It was announced that select Zelda items will appear in the Nintendo Switch version of Skyrim. I'm really looking forward to exploring Skyrim with the Master Sword in hand. Oh, when did this Master Sword get in my hand? Next up, we'll take a look at the DLC packs for The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. Let us take you on a new Hyrule adventure.
Oh.
What did you think? I actually have one more announcement that I'd like to share. The 4 champions that appeared in The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild will be available as amiibo. The Zora champion, Mipha. The Goron champion, Daruk. the Rito champion, Rivali, and the Gerudo champion, Urbosa. You'll be able to use these 4 amiibo in The Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild. Of course, you'll be able to use these in the DLC packs that you just saw, so please look forward to them.
This changes the game. Travel the world. Bring people together. Play anywhere with anyone. If video gaming is a journey, then anywhere has to include a stop right here in LA during E3. This is Magic Week, where booths buzz and channels glow, where the game worlds you've heard about suddenly spring into life. And this summer, a new kind of heated competition ignites right on Nintendo Switch. It kicks off later today with the Splatoon 2 World Inkling Invitational, which brings teams from the Americas, Europe, Australia, New Zealand, and Japan to see whose colorful skills are the best. Tomorrow, the Pokken Invitational will be held. You might recognize some of our 8 competitors who'll be duking it out in heated battles. Later on Wednesday, we'll see 8 players throw punches in the fun and competitive game ARMS, which launches later this week. 4 of our players will be pros, and the other 4 will be E3 attendees who rise to the top by battling on the show floor. If you're going to E3, we hope you'll accept the challenge. And no matter where you are, be sure to catch up with Nintendo Treehouse Live at E3 for all the details and news about Nintendo Switch and Nintendo 3DS. But now, there are a few more worlds left to visit on our journey before we land in the booth. Let's go.
Ubisoft is proud to announce its new Rabbids game, Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle, and it will be developed exclusively for the Nintendo Switch. The Rabbids' crazy personalities and unpredictable behavior will shine as they arrive in a reimagined and twisted Mushroom Kingdom. They will surprise you in this tactical adventure filled with combat and exploration. Mario and his friends will join them in an epic quest to put the kingdom back in order. We can't wait for you to play the game on August 29th.
On behalf of everyone here at Psyonix, we're extremely excited to announce that Rocket League is indeed coming to Nintendo Switch. We know that both the Rocket League and Switch communities have wanted it, and now we're going to release it, complete with cross-network support that lets you play against opponents on other platforms.
The Switch version will have all the features and modes we've released thus far, plus exclusives like local wireless multiplayer, Mario and Luigi hats for customizing your car, and new exclusive cars we'll talk about later this year.
Look for Rocket League on Nintendo Switch this holiday.
Here we go, off the rails. Did you know it's time to raise our sails? It's freedom like you never knew. Money bags or a pass. Say the word, I'll be there in a flash. You could say my hat is off to you. Oh, we can zoom all the way to the moon. This great wide wacky world. Jump with me, grab coins with me. Oh yeah. It's time to jump up in the air. Jump up, don't be scared. Jump up and your cares will soar away. And if the dark clouds start to swirl, don't fear and shed a tear, 'cause I'll be your one-up girl. So let's all jump up super high, high up in the sky. There's no power up like dancing. You know that you're my superstar. No one else can take me this far. I'm flipping the switch. Get ready for the sun. Let's do the Odyssey. Odyssey, yes, see. 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 Odyssey, Odyssey.
Hey everybody, welcome to Hey everybody, and welcome to Nintendo Treehouse Live at E3 2017. We're back for another year. We've got a lot of great game content to show you, and a lot of special guests swinging by as well. But to get things kicked off, we're going to take another look at Super Mario Odyssey. Just saw the video in the Spotlight. It's going to be coming out on October 27th, really soon, and we're going to take a look at some gameplay. I'm Sam from the Treehouse, joined by my colleagues from the Treehouse, Rob, and Scott on the end, and we have some very special guests with us for this segment. We've got the game's producer, Koizumi-san, and the game's director, Motakura-san. Thank you both so much for joining us today.
はい。
今日来ていただきありがとうございました。
はい、楽しみにしてました。
Really looking forward to it.
So I know folks are probably really excited to get into gameplay, but before we jump in, there were a lot of really cool reveals in that video, and I think folks are going to be really interested in all the different directions that you're taking this game. But at the core, there's really kind of a driving philosophy that you've got going. I was wondering if you could tell our viewers a little bit more about that.
このゲームの基本的なコンセプトを説明していただけますか。
まず今ビデオを見ていただいてどうでしたか。何か面白かったところはありますか。
First, could I just ask you, was there anything you saw in there that particularly surprised you or interested you?
I gotta say, the first time I saw that T-Rex, my heart stopped.
The dinosaur was a
It
big
was so
deal.
exciting.
よかったです。今回のマリオはテーマが旅になっていて、別の国に行った時の驚きをすごく強調しています。
So we have a theme of going on a journey in this game, but we're also trying to give the player a lot of surprises, and I think the dinosaur is a really big surprise for most.
マリオシリーズってマリオが持っているその分かりやすさであるとか、可愛らしさであるとか、誰でも分かるような共感というもので、今まで作ってきて、今もこれも入ってるんですけども、今回は特に旅の驚きっていうことをすごく、盛り込みたいので、驚きっていうテーマを、体験もそうだし、ビジュアルもそうだし、たくさん詰め込んでます。
But we also want to balance that feeling of surprise with some emotional resonance, giving people something that's familiar, that's attractive, that's really cute from the Mario series, and bounce people back and forth between the familiar and the surprising.
でそれを体験するための新しいプレイシステムを、作りましたので、それは本倉さんに説明してもらいます。
So we've come up with some play systems to get that across as well. So it's not just a look and feel, but a play experience also. And I'd like to turn to Mr. Motakura to explain that.
今作は帽子を投げて敵や物を操ってとある地球を冒険するっていう、物語になっています。
So the kind of overall story of this game is, you're going around, you're throwing your hat, you're taking over different enemies and objects, and you're traveling the world while you do that.
そのパワームーンっていうのがイコール驚きになっていますので、それを帽子を投げたりいろんなものを操って箱庭を探索してもらえたらと思っています。
And we talked about surprise before, but basically the unit of surprise in this game is those power moons. Those always equal a surprise, so you go around, you throw your head at different things, you control enemies, and you find things that are surprising, and that gives you a power moon.
Right on, so let's get into some gameplay. Rob, you're going to take us into New Donk City.
I am. First, I'd like to take a quick look at the Odyssey, for which the game is named. It's the ship that Mario uses to travel the world, and it's powered by these power moons, so you keep needing additional thresholds of them to get onto the next kingdom. And just to show off a little bit of the new moves, obviously there's the hat throw. You can make it stay in place, which is sometimes valuable. It can grab things for you. There's two kinds of coins, which we'll talk about a little later on.
Actually, there in that little dialogue box, we saw Cappy.
Oh, yeah. Cappy is both the red hat that he's wearing and also in his native form, he's a white top hat. And so one other move that's pretty cool is this circular throw. Knocks away everything. But let's get down into the city. And as you saw in the trailer, so there's the capture mechanic lets you take over things. It also lets you do fairly exotic things like turn into electricity, travel through wires. So how did the capture mechanic come about?
キャプチャーという仕様を作ったきっかけは何かありましたでしょうか。
そうですね。今作はものすごくいろんな試作っていうものをしてから作っています。
So when we were making this game, what we started out doing was making just a huge amount of different gameplay prototypes.
このキャプチャーというアクションもそのうちの一つです。
And this capture action was just one of those prototypes.
みんなでアイデアを出し合った中に出てきたんですけども、それをそうですね、2、3日ぐらいで作って遊んでみたらものすごく面白かったので、すぐゲームの中心に入れようと決めました。
So, it was just one of the ideas that came up, but we worked on it for 2 or 3 days, and it just instantly turned into something that was really fun, and we decided, well, okay, this should just be the center of this game.
I love how much it encourages that exploration and experimentation that I think the Mario games along these lines are so known for when you think about Super Mario 64, Super Mario Sunshine. Here we've got so much stuff that just looks interesting, and you're wondering, okay, what will happen if I throw my cap at it? You never really know what's going to happen, so you want to try everything just to see.
何でも試してみたくなる仕様ですね。どういう要素があって。
そうですね。いろんなものに帽子を投げたり、試してもらえたらなと思ってます。
Yeah, I definitely hope when people, while they're playing this game, they just throw their hat at everything and try all sorts of different things.
Whoops, that was a mistake. Right now, normally, if you were following the story path of the game, you'd be talking to Mayor Pauline, who wants you to recruit musicians. There's one there. But we're going to ignore that right now because there's lots and lots of things to do beyond following the main story of the game. Like possess rockets and turn into rockets with mustaches.
And why wouldn't you do that if you could? Actually, that's an interesting note there. So you mentioned Mayor Pauline, and I think our sharp-eyed viewers will have noticed that some of the street signs are references to some Donkey Kong characters. We've got some interesting red girders going on here. I wonder, Kozuma-san and Monokura-san, if you can tell us a little bit more about this city. It's got some interesting backstory.
やっぱりポリン市長がいて、ニュードンクシティという名前がついてると、もっと何かこの都市について説明していただけますか。
そうですね。名前もそうですし、ポリンってドンキーコングのキャラクターで何かのゲームに関係がありそうですけど、今日はちょっとあまり詳しく言えないんですけど。
So certainly you can tell that Pauline is from Donkey Kong, and the name New Donk City probably leads you to a couple of hints, but we can't get into too much of it today.
And I like the shirt you're wearing, by the way.
That is a snazzy
Good choice
shirt.
Today.
お楽しみに。
So please look forward to hearing more about that.
I gotta take the long way.
Oh, good luck. And this is interesting here where we see, I mean, really throughout New Donk City, and I think throughout the world, we've got these really fun playground elements where you're bouncing on things, you're jumping on things, you're swinging. Can you tell our viewers a little bit more about how you came up with that kind of play mechanic in the game?
ぶら下がったりして、飛び跳ねたりして、いろんな、環境のものに反応させられるんですけど、どういうふうにそういう遊び場っぽい雰囲気を出せるように考え方ありますか。
はい。まずその試作っていうのでものすごくいっぱい遊びを作っています。それを配置してステージっていうものを作ります。まず。
So, going back to that prototyping process I was talking about before, we obviously create lots and lots of different ones, lots and lots of different game ideas. And then next what we think about is where to place them within the stage.
そこにそのアートであるとか具体的なものを載せて遊んでみます。
So we put it in the stage. We like combine it with different art assets, like kind of like real things, to see what it might actually look like or work in game, and then try playing it.
そうするともっとこうしたいとかいろんな意見が出てくるので、それをさらにそこに上乗せして作っています。
And then, obviously out of that, like different things come up, like, oh, maybe we could do this a little bit differently. Maybe this could actually work like this instead. And then we kind of add that to it, and the process just continues from there.
なので先ほどちょっと出たタクシーなんかをジャンプさせるのもスーパーマリオサンシャインでもちょっと似たような仕様があったので、そういうところからちょっとヒントを得ています。
And so, you saw before, we were able to jump on top of the taxi, and that's something that was sort of in Super Mario Sunshine at times. So in that way, we're also getting hints from past games.
Can I quickly interject that so as I mentioned, the goal right now is to recruit these musicians. When I was first playing this game for a feedback report for the development team, I could not figure out how to get to this guy on the top of this building. You can just barely see him. He's a speck right now in that triangular building. And the way I eventually found to do it was to take a really long fall.
I did that too.
And that worked.
Oh, I feel bad for his knees.
A bit to my surprise. And I wanted to know, when you saw that report from me, what was that a problem to be solved? Was that a cool thing? What was that?
このマリオはNCR の報告書を書いていたときに、こういうふうにトランペットのバンドマンを到着できますよと書いてましたが、それを見てちょっと困っていたんでしょうか。
はい、それは読んだんですけれども、今日ここでプレイするとは思わなかったです。
Yeah, I did read that. I didn't know you were going to be playing that right now.
Troublemaker.
Well, I also know the real way. Or another way.
本当のやり方も分かってます。
でも自分でいろんなプレイの仕方を探してもらえたらと思うんですけども、それもスーパーマリオ64やスーパーマリオサンシャインから続くものだと思います。
But you found your own way to play it, and letting users play around with the game and find their own ways of doing things. That's something that goes way back in 3D Mario, in Super Mario 64 and Super Mario Sunshine as well.
So this is actually one of the two kingdoms that's going to be playable on the show floor. The show floor, of course, isn't open yet, so we don't have folks playing the game at this moment, but I'm really looking forward to talking to folks after they've played it, because I think there's so many different ways to problem solve and find the moons in these kingdoms. I'm not even sure if folks will find everything over the course of the show, but it's going to be interesting to find out how different people approached completing some of these objectives.
But the game encourages so much experimentation because you aren't kicked out of the level every time you find a moon. There is no reason not to investigate every little thing you can see that might be interesting. There's no time limit. There's no disincentive. There's lots and lots of cool stuff. Whoa! Okay.
Yeah, that is a very interesting change that adds, I think, to the immersion in the kingdoms. When you think about Super Mario 64, Super Mario Sunshine, whenever you got whatever the collectible objective was, depending on the game you were playing, you'd get bumped out of the area and you'd have to come back in. But here, since you're not going to get booted out of the kingdom when you collect a Power Moon, there's a lot of encouragement to just go check out that weird thing you saw on the horizon, because you can still continue with whatever your primary objective is. Oh no! But then, keep on tracking and finding moons.
Another reason to explore everything is that there's very little punishment for dying. I just lost 10 coins, and there's lots. So, and I get to try again right away.
Oh, good luck.
It's also worth mentioning that the bullet bills here are coming out with visors on, so they cannot be captured until you knock their hats off, because an enemy with a hat is the scariest thing in this game.
Fashion is very important in this game. You got to be conscious of your headwear. Oh, careful.
Ah. Oh no! Well, apparently this is not my day for this challenge.
That's right. Third time's a charm, right?
Yeah. And if at first you don't succeed, give up on the third attempt.
I'm just looking at the space where we saw other sections of New Dog City, and looking here, I'm just so impressed with the texture work that's been done. And I feel like every time I see a new build of this game, more and more of these textures are just jumping out at me. It's really fun to see in person.
It is a gorgeous game, and we have some other segments later on in the stream that are going to highlight some especially pretty areas.
Oh, you got this.
Yeah.
And while I'm keeping my fingers and toes crossed, yes.
Thank you.
one thing that we haven't mentioned yet that we probably should talk a little bit about is the fact that you're playing with Joy-Con with the wrist straps attached.
Yes.
And that's a really fantastic way to play this game. It, of course, supports Pro Controller and other controller options, but you can do so much with the motion controls, and throwing Cappy feels very intuitive.
Yeah. I'm going to switch to a different section of the game where I show the sand world, which is also playable on the show floor. So give me just a moment
Oh,
here.
no worries. But I do love that as you're experimenting, and I think we'll see folks doing that on the show floor here, so many of your gestures will affect how Cappy moves that while you're holding the Joy-Con with the wrist straps attached, you really want to just try moving your arms in different directions. Like, okay, I'm going to try throwing up, I'm going to throw down, throw out. But I was really impressed by how well that implementation was put into play. Here we are.
Yeah.
Oh, this place is so pretty.
So here we're in the Sand Kingdom, in the town of Tostarena. And they have a problem now because it's all frozen. Everything is cold for reasons, of course, that Mario will eventually solve.
Yeah, actually, if you hang still for a second, we can show his little idle animation when he's cold.
Oh, yeah,
It's
yeah.
really cute.
Oh, he's cold.
I love the locals here, too.
Yeah, I think he's distracted by the local dancing around, but I think if he's by himself, then he really shivers.
Oh, poor Mario.
Yeah. So let's see here. One thing I did want to show off is, so as we mentioned, there's two kinds of coins in this game. And for I believe the first time in the mainline Mario series, you can actually buy things with your coins. And I wanted to ask the developers how that came up, that currency should be worth currency.
なんでコインで買い物できるようにしたいと思ったんでしょうか。
はい、今回はコインを本当にお金として扱おうと思いました。
So we wanted, coins to be used as coins in this game. Actually, use them as money.
外国に行った時にその国のお金ってすごいなんか印象に残ってないですか。
And I think you'll agree. If you go to a foreign land, one of the things that makes the biggest impression on you is the currency.
これ使えるのとか思ったりしないですか。
You kind of look at it and you think, wait, is this real? Can I use this?
今回はマリオもいろんな国を旅しますので、その国その国のコインというものを用意しています。
And since Mario is going around to all these different kingdoms in this game, we wanted to make sure that there was a currency for each one.
要素はコレクトするコインの要素になっていますので、集めたものでコスチュームを変えたり、お土産を買うことができます。
And they're collectible items, so you can use them to buy different outfits or buy souvenirs.
Speaking of,
お土産買うの楽しいですよ。
Yeah, and it's always fun to buy souvenirs, right?
Yeah,
absolutely. And speaking of shopping, we are now in Crazy Cap.
So there's two kinds of coins, as we mentioned. The purple ones are unique to the local kingdom. The yellow ones can be used in any shop. I'm going to buy, because the guy at the door said maybe I should, I'm not living up to their dress code, maybe I should buy some clothes to fit in better. I'm going to buy a local sombrero and poncho. And wait till you see how adorable Mario looks.
Being adorable, I just love the shopkeeper.
Yeah, and their huge stack of hats.
He's so cute.
And you can see some of the souvenirs you can buy there that you can use to decorate the inside of the ship.
Nice.
And now I'm rocking this look. And let's go try that door again. So my capabilities are the same. It's still Cappy, even though he's turned into a different kind of hat now. He can turn into any kind of headwear, apparently. Exotic superpower. And, all right. So I go over and talk to this guy.
Let's see if you meet the expectations now. Ooh, snappy and lively.
Snappy and lively. I think the hat is the one and the poncho is the other. All right. And this is, of course, the goal I was working toward all this time.
I love all these little moments of surprise where you never really know what's going to happen when you
Why
get
did I
into
want to
these
get in this room?
spaces.
I don't know. I wanted to get in this room so I could play a guitar.
You want to get in because it's locked.
Yeah, exactly. So then we're going to move on to some more traditional 3D Mario gameplay over this direction.
Now that you are terribly well dressed, it's time to go do some exploring.
Yeah. And
here's
Bowser's footprints, I must be on the right track. So notice that while using the motion controls, I can actually use the little homing function on the hat more easily. It is possible with the button controls only, but it's much more difficult.
All right, the classic Goomba.
Yeah. And let's just do a big one for that. And yeah.
And that's, I guess, something folks are probably noticing here. So you're not capturing those Goomba. It's not every single enemy that's capturable.
That's true.
You've got to find the special ones.
Yeah.
And a lot of it's having a good eye and just experimenting a lot with your cap.
I think they're a shade bigger, the ones you can capture, but I'm not positive about that.
Nice.
So bullet bills, of course, are useful because you can fly with them. And now I've got to very quickly capture my ride back.
And with bullet bills, you can only capture them for a limited amount of time because at some point they're just going to blow up.
Yeah.
So you have to be a little mindful of what you're doing.
Yeah, you
when
only
you've
get
got
so
a
much
bullet
time
bill.
with the explosive guys. All right, and then almost to one of my favorite bits in this level.
Oh yeah, the next bit you're coming up to just
Yeah.
blew my mind the first time I saw it.
So
in a
this
while.
place has these murals that look like they're decorated in this cool old school aesthetic, and I'm just gonna go right on in. And I've still got my costume.
So Koizumi-san and Monokura-san, I think we definitely need to hear a little bit more background about why you added this into the game because it's so cool, but it's so unexpected as well, I think.
なんでこのような 2D の8ビットマリオのところも入れたいと思ったんでしょうか。
3D の部分は気持ちよく探索できるように比較的おおらかに作っています。
So we wanted to make something that would be, sort of a contrast with the 3D stages that you're able to explore very freely in.
2D の部分はもう少し細かく緊張感のある構成になっています。
The 2D spaces are kind of more confined. They're more precise. It's more like kind of, sort of traditional platforming elements.
同じステージの中でもそういった違った遊びっていうのを入れたかったです。
But also within the 2D stages, as you can see, we wanted to have a lot of different variety.
もちろん昔からのゲームが好きな人にも楽しんでもらえるビジュアルになっていると思います。
And of course, with the visuals, we're hoping it's something, the people who enjoyed kind of those classic nostalgic games also get a kick out of as well.
So one thing I'd love to show off when we're getting out toward the end of this space is just how much the music changes when we're transitioning back and forth. Because I know we've been chatting, maybe it's hard for some folks to hear what's been going on here, but if we just pop in and out of that warp pipe, it's a pretty impressive transition when the music changes.
But there's no warp pipe up here.